We haven't seen this level of rain in the Low Country in 1,000 years. That's how big this is.
Today on NewsWatch, deadly floods rip through South Carolina. We'll show you the devastation and what CBN's Operation Blessing is doing to provide relief. Plus, just days after the deadly shooting rampage in Oregon, where victims were targeted for their faith, the community is pulling together and choosing to forgive. We'll show you how. And
God is the ultimate. I mean, God created this. Nobody, no thing, no, there's nothing like God.
CBN News goes one-on-one with Donald Trump, why the Republican frontrunner says he deserves the Evangelical vote. Thanks so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Days of deadly torrential rains are still gripping South Carolina today. Thousands of homes are without power. Some parts of the Low Country have already seen more than 24 inches of rain, and it has not completely stopped falling. The East Coast storm has claimed the lives of at least 7 people.
But I was scared we couldn't get the car out, so I started on foot. I thought we were going to die.
And here in South Carolina, police are still at work rescuing people from floodwaters this Monday, following hundreds of rescues this weekend.
We had a mother and her child stranded. A rescue worker tried to get to them. He got stranded, and so we used an aerial rescue to go get all of them, and then started picking some people off rooftops.
Record-breaking rainfall has covered roads and bridges around the state, canceled classes, and closed schools.
We haven't seen this level of rain in the Low Country in 1,000 years. That's how big this is.
From historic flooding to furious winds, this weekend's 1-2 punch of wicked weather prompted states of emergency, not only in South Carolina, but North Carolina, New Jersey, and Virginia.
Just because the rain stops does not mean the danger is over.
South Carolina can't even begin to count the cost of the damage or what people need in this disaster.
It's tough because everything that I own, that I know of, has been destroyed. All my memories, everything that I've worked for.
That is just one reason why Operation Blessing's teams are there, working with South Carolina School of Leadership and area churches to assess the damage and bring aid to those who need it. Operation Blessing is also sending resources to assist storm victims in Norfolk, Virginia, Charleston, South Carolina, and the Bahamas. It was a powerful Sunday in Roseburg, Oregon, as those mourning the Umpqua Community College shooting came together to worship and share. One local pastor whose daughter survived the attack says a hero saved her and told his congregation he's not focusing on the shooter. Our Heather Sells has this story.
The grieving and the stunned made their way to church in Roseburg, Oregon on Sunday, looking for a focus to ease their pain and help make sense of a mass shooting that no one saw coming. Pastor Randy Scroggin says his daughter survived because 20-year-old Trevon Anspach fell on top of her after he was shot.
I believe in the last moments that he had any conscience whatsoever, I believe he said, "I am going to roll onto Lacey."
Pinned underneath him, Lacey played dead and fooled the gunman.
We believe that his blood saved our daughter's life.
A new unconfirmed report from People magazine says the gunman left a manifesto that revealed his intent. This guy did this strictly for satanic purposes, the source told People. He did it to become a god in hell. He wants to be evil. That is his goal, to serve Satan. But in his sermon, Pastor Scroggins told his congregation he's not thinking about the gunman.
If you focus on the shooter, if you focus on him, now that he is dead, you will be sucked into believing that evil is gone. But I'm here to tell you, he is dead and evil is still alive. So I don't focus on him. I realize that there is something far worse than him. It is the evil that controlled him. I have good news. Evil was at the cross. Evil took the life of Christ. But 3 days later, Christ came out of the grave.
Heather Sells, CBN News.
And for more on the Oregon shooting tragedy, simply log on to cbnnews.com. ISIS continues destroying historical sites in Syria. Syrian activists say militants have now destroyed the centuries-old triumphal arch in the city of Palmyra. The nearly 2,000-year-old arch was one of the most recognizable sites in the city. Palmyra contains the ruins of a great city that was one of the most important cultural centers of the ancient world. The city was recognized by UNESCO as a World Cultural Heritage Site. ISIS has been destroying historical sites across the territory it controls in Iraq and Syria since May. Israeli police have stepped up security in the old city of Jerusalem after another deadly terrorist attack this weekend. A Palestinian stabbed and murdered a rabbi and an off-duty soldier and wounded a woman and her toddler son near the Lion's Gate in Jerusalem's old city on Saturday evening. The terrorist was shot and killed.
The old city is only open to residents of the old city, and this is a drastic measure that's being taken in order to make sure that there are no further attacks during the Jewish festival, where you can see thousands of people are visiting the old city. Our police units are in and around the different areas at the moment.
Over the weekend, the IDF arrested suspects in the drive-by shooting murder of an Israeli man and his wife on Thursday. Their 4 children, aged 4 months to 9 years old, were in the back seat of the car during the shooting. The attacks are the latest in an escalation of Palestinian terrorist violence against Israelis, including rock throwing, stabbing, and shooting attacks. And the Islamic Jihad has released a video threatening to resume suicide bombing attacks. As Israel faces pressure from all sides, it needs more support from its friends than ever. That help is coming from evangelical Christians around the world. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has this story.
Some 5,000 international Christians from more than 80 nations visited Jerusalem this week. They came to celebrate the biblical feast of Sukkot. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed them at the International Christian Embassy's Feast of Tabernacles event.
Dear friend, thank you for coming up from year to year to worship the King, the God of hosts. Thank you for standing with us.
And the fact is, Israel has no better friends around the world. You give us support at all times, and especially in times of distress.
ICEJ Director Jürgen Buehler believes as the number of evangelical Christians increases, so does the potential to make political changes in Israel's favor.
They read the Bible about Israel, they love Israel, they want to pray for Israel, they support Israel, they talk to their government leaders about Israel, and we saw over the last years even that some of those African nations, they changed legislations which were intended against Israel. They say, we don't want this to take place in our country.
Mayan Jaffe is a reporter for the Jewish News Service.
There are growing numbers of Christians in countries where they will impact the parliament, impact voting in the United Nations. And, the best thing that we can do for ourselves politically is to take advantage of those opportunities and not focus on what we have different from one another, but focus on what we have in common.
The ICEJ's feast is Israel's largest annual tourist event. They call it a kind of dress rehearsal based on Zechariah 14, when the Bible says all nations will one day come to Jerusalem to worship the King. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Turning now to politics in the U.S., Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz is challenging House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House. On Fox News Sunday, Chaffetz said the voters who put a Republican majority in the House want a leader who will challenge the status quo and unite the party.
I think they want a fresh face and a fresh new person who's actually there at the leadership table in the speaker's role. You've got to speak. You've got to be able to articulate the Republican message to the American people and take that fight to the president. But you also have to bridge internally.
Chaffetz said McCarthy and other House leaders don't deserve an automatic promotion. McCarthy angered House conservatives last week when he suggested the committee investigating the Benghazi attacks was created to hurt Hillary Clinton's bid for president. He did later apologize. Chaffetz is chairman of the House Oversight Committee and Government Reform Committee. Chick-fil-A opened in New York City Saturday. Some customers camped out overnight to be the first in line to make an order, but not everyone shared their enthusiasm. Vegan, gay, and transgender rights activists staged a demonstration to protest the chain for its Christian values and its belief in traditional marriage. Chick-fil-A's New York location is its largest restaurant to date. And still to come, the Donald plays his Trump card to court evangelicals. The Republican frontrunner discusses his faith with David Brody. Don't go away. Donald Trump is shaking up politics like never before. David Brody spent some time with the current Republican presidential frontrunner and has this look at how he hopes to gain support from the all-important evangelical voting bloc.
Amazing. Thank you. Wow. He has proven the political world wrong. Not only have the name Donald Trump and GOP frontrunner appeared in the same sentence, they've stayed together. And then there's this. I'm leading with the evangelicals big league. It's true. Poll after poll shows Trump ahead among self-identified evangelicals. Fox News has him at 29%, followed by Ben Carson and Ted Cruz. CNN has him even higher.
I think one of the reasons I'm doing so well, I am a Christian, I'm a Protestant, I'm a Presbyterian, I'm a total believer. I believe in the Bible, I believe in God, and I think I will help them so much with this country.
But with proven evangelical-type candidates already out there, like Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, and Mike Huckabee, Trump has some work to do.
I brought my Bible. Okay?
He placed fifth at the recent Values Voter Summit, even though he's not exactly your standard evangelical candidate. He's been married 3 times. He used to be pro-choice, though now he's pro-life. His healthy ego rubs some the wrong way, and cutting comments about fellow candidates ruffle some feathers too.
Jeb Bush is a low-energy person. For him to get things done is hard.
Trump tells us he's working on his tone.
You need a person of tremendous strength, but I think I could tone it down a little bit, and I'll try.
For sure, evangelicals respond to his fighting spirit and ability to cut through the political hot air.
You know exactly where he stands, whether you agree with him or not. That's what I love about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump tells it like he sees it, and I think people, at least on this first impression of Donald Trump, is that he's not going to be controlled by the political class. And that's what they're looking for.
I've dealt with very tough hombres and very tough people, and I've come out on top, and I can understand the evangelicals to a certain extent saying, well, maybe he's not as nice as we want him to be, but they also want to see the country be great.
They also are curious about Trump's faith journey, something that we discussed on his golf course in California.
Who is God to you? What are some of your thoughts on this? God is the ultimate. I mean, God created this. And, you know, here's the Pacific Ocean right behind us. So nobody, no thing, no, there's nothing like God.
On the campaign trail, he calls the Bible his #1 book.
The Bible is special. The Bible, the more you see it, the more you read it, the more incredible it is.
What about prayer? Are you a praying guy? I mean, do you pray once in a while? Tell me about that, and maybe some Bible reading.
I am a praying guy, and very interestingly, the other thing I have, and I found this, but this is my confirmation class, June 1959, which is pretty good, right? So, no, I am a praying person.
Are there certain things that you really feel like you need to pray for?
I think more than anything for the family and for health.
As for mercy, his critics went after him when he told an evangelical audience this summer that he wasn't sure he ever asked God for forgiveness.
Do you believe that it's important to ask God for forgiveness? How do you feel about that?
Well, I do. I think it's great. And I consider communion to be a very important thing. And, you know, when I go to church and I take communion, I consider that asking for forgiveness in my own way.
Trump talks fondly about his Sunday school days, though he admits these days he goes to church when he can. While evangelicals may never see him as Pastor Trump, they do want to see more substance, especially on issues like the rights of Christian business owners.
How concerned are you about their
religious liberty rights that are under attack if they don't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding.
You're right, and I'm very concerned about it, and a lot of, there's going to be a lot of law issued about it.
And speaking of the law, Trump disagrees with the Supreme Court's ruling on same-sex marriage.
We have some very terrible Supreme Court justices, and frankly, they should have at least had that as a states' right issue.
But Trump does consider gay marriage the law of the land, and that does put him at odds with some of his evangelical rivals. Eventually, conservative Christian voters will render their verdict on Trump and all the others.
I'm praying about it, honestly. I'm asking the Lord what he wants me to do, and I think that that's what all Christians need to do.
Meanwhile, Trump will continue preaching his message and pray that evangelicals buy in.
You're special people, and I love you all, and this is the key. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
David Brody, CBN News.
And David has some more on how some pastors and evangelical leaders are reaching out to Donald Trump. You can find that at the Brody File on CBNNews.com, where he broke the story about 40 religious leaders praying with him in his Trump Tower office Monday. Up next, apocalyptic flames sending lives and dreams up in smoke. How ministries are responding to a tragic California wildfire. Napa Valley is known for its rolling hills and sprawling landscape, but that has all but been destroyed in the state's third worst fire in history. The Middletown fire spread over 74,000 acres within a 24-hour period. Homes were destroyed and 3,500 people were forced to evacuate. Randy Griffith has more on how Mercy Chefs is lending a helping hand.
It seemed like the end was coming because there was just fire everywhere. No matter where you went, it seemed to follow. And the fire, they actually, like a fire tornado in the sky. I've never seen anything like that.
In a matter of minutes, the Johnson family lost everything. Their home, their belongings, and memories of their past. The source of this devastation? A fire. The fire started on Cobb Mountain on September 12th and took 8 hours to spread 40,000 acres.
To see this fire come through our community was devastating. To watch it rage over the mountain, we watched it when it hit the peaks of Middletown, and we knew we had to leave there.
People were literally driving through flames. We had one family from our church who was escaping, and the embers were falling on their clothing as they were trying to get out of their homes. So it was terrifying. People were literally fleeing for their lives.
No place was safe. 1,235 homes were lost and 1,900 buildings destroyed, including Pastor Zach Piser's church.
The church sanctuary is there with all the metal chairs.
Pastor Zach Piser and his staff met at their church building to make plans to open it as a shelter. But they soon realized that the disaster was headed in their direction.
There was like a firestorm coming our way. The smoke was coming towards the church. Spot fires were hitting a little bit of ways from the church, so we knew we had to get out. But then the CHP came by and said, "You guys need to leave."
Organizations like Mercy Chefs and Our Ranch quickly opened their doors to provide hope to the community.
It's unbelievable. It's amazing how fast people came together in the time of crisis. It's what the community did. It's what the volunteers did. It was really a heartwarming event to see the community pull together as fast as they did and as much support as they did.
Now the Middleton community focuses on one thing, and that is rebuilding it from the ground up.
There's a passage in Isaiah that says that God gives beauty for ashes, and we're seeing that happen already through this tragedy. We're seeing that God is restoring lives, He's rebuilding lives, He's bringing people back to Christ who had drifted away.
You know, they have this slogan, Middletown Strong. I believe that with all my heart. It won't be just Middletown Strong, but God will be stronger in everybody's lives.
Like many other families, the Johnsons feel that the community has helped them to heal.
These people put not only their money, their time, their heart, their soul. They listened to us when we were going through it.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Mercy Chef realizes the healing power of sitting down over a warm meal. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Producers behind a popular television series launched a new series of Movie Sunday. The series follows its original characters and honors our military. Angela Zatopek brings us this inside look at Signed, Sealed, Delivered, now available on the Hallmark Movie and Mysteries channel.
The hit TV series Touched by an Angel delighted audiences for 9 seasons on CBS. Series creator Martha Williamson now uses her talent on the Hallmark Channel. Her latest project continues the series Signed, Sealed, Delivered, with 4 movies that follow its characters. The latest is The Impossible Dream.
The premise of the whole series is about these 4 quirky little postal guys who work together delivering dead letters and lost letters. So at this point, we find these postables in Washington, D.C., and they are going to help a family see if they can track down a missing soldier, a mother, a daughter, an American mother who is missing in Afghanistan, presumed dead.
When the postal detectives decode the missing soldier's letter, they realize she's still alive and secretly giving her locations. Their mission? Convince Washington to rescue the lost soldier under the no man left behind policy.
If that letter is what we think it is, then it's compelling us to pay attention to the details, or the chance to bring Lieutenant Amadon home again will be gone before we know it.
And that's so relevant because right now we have 4 American hostages in Iran, and I know that it's been really difficult for our country to know that and just see this.
Well, you make a very good point, because so often, and rightly so, we talk about all the sacrifices made by our military abroad, but it's so easy to forget all the sacrifices made by their families at home.
Williamson hopes this movie series will bring a similar uplifting message that Touched by an Angel brought to homes for so many years.
Sunday nights were the Touched by an Angel appointment viewing night, and people would always say, that's the kind of show that got me ready for the next week.
Rolling out through October, you can find this and the other films on the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel. Angela Zatopek, CBN News.
It is time now for your Monday motivation. If you're having a tough time, consider this. Your breaking point is also your turning point when your faith is pointed toward heaven. He has the last say, and he is working it out for your good. So that breaking point may not be as bad as you think it is. Make this a marvelous Monday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And we'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. We hope you'll join us again right here next time. Once again, make this a marvelous Monday.